politics is not very accessible. If you're not in the crowd, you really don't know what's going on, and people don't realize there's commissions, there's boards that have a lot of influence on what type of decisions a lot of these politicians, elected officials make, right? But like people like us, like Cheyenne, like Sade, like D need to be in these positions because, like she mentioned, right, you have one or two black folks that can steer the conversation, right? You can start looking at things from an equity perspective. Historically, that's lacked from decision makers from these type of high offices,
right? Because they just don't know
exactly. So we want to make people aware, make things accessible.
Yeah,
and I think
go ahead, Sha.
we got to make sure that
put that mic over there.
My bad. We got to make sure that once our people are at the table, once our folks are in office, that we're holding them accountable. And a part of that is breaking it down so that it is accessible. It's marketing it so that people know, like, oh, this is about to be, on the table, and we need to make sure that folks are voting this way. And
because I'm not going to the front. Like, I want to know. How do I find out?
Right. And I'll say it's folks like Cheyenne who really understand communications in a way that, like, it really becomes accessible. And you asked earlier, why did we join BLAYD? Like, Jelani called me. Like, it was the calls, and I got multiple calls before I even, went to the first meeting I ever did. It was, Jelani, bro, you coming through? Like, it's that level of organizing, that level of really bringing our folks together to really say, like, you could be here too. You got to be here. We need you here.
Why does it matter to you?
I feel like I really, to come from a community where we deserve better.
Let's talk about it.
I love that.
She from Detroit.
I'm about to love it.
Because what does it mean? Because you telling me, like, what does this mean? You can say all day, but like, what have you been through? Like, okay, why should I believe Sade?
I feel like going to high school where it's all of us are black and brown. All of us, like every single one of us is black and brown. But how many of us actually got to college? How many of us actually, when I got to college, why everybody looked white? And I ain't never seen these many white people in one place before. Like, that don't make no sense. Like, all of my homies in high school, why didn't we get to make it out? Why am I the only person I know that went to Harvard other than the motherfuckers I met at Harvard? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's the levels of being able to understand, like, we don't get the quality resources that our folks need, and that's why we got to be at the table. That's why we got to make sure that we're fighting for those things, because a lot of times they don't say, like, oh no, they're telling us, like, no, you smart, Cheyenne, you smart, D, that's why you getting here, that's why you end up where you going. No, that's not why. All of us are smart. All of us are smart.
What is it?
We pull up. Because when you in these spaces, you realize you see people from the labor. I think about, like, Michelle Reed. I just, like, love Michelle Reed.
Michelle Reed?
Shout out to Michelle
She
Reed.
is just like the
hardest
hardest
woman
working
in the city.
woman. She's like in the older generation. I don't want to say she's an older generation.
She's an elder, for sure.
Elder, yeah.
Sure.
But she's not, like, in these typical spaces, you got to pull up and, people think you got to have your suit. You have to have this. No, Michelle Reed and her older generation self, she wears her purple hair.
Yes.
And she'll be on a Zoom call in her house dress and her bonnet and be like, Senator, oh yes, my favorite assemblyman. So why we don't have this? And so you realize it's not necessarily about the look. Is about pulling up, because the loud, like, in corporate, it's like the best marketer wins. Well, the loudest person wins in politics. Like, the people who make the noise and the people who have the most money. And I think it's important, like, even when we think about Karen's campaign, is like, yeah, Rick Caruso has a lot of money, but, like, we make the most noise.
If you have all this money to put behind your campaign, why couldn't you build all these facilities and things like that for the homeless people? Because why is the money coming? But more importantly, if you have the money and you're saying, hey, I'm for the community, I'm for the people, why did it take now for your campaign? Why weren't you just doing it before?
And he's still not doing it. He's still not doing it. He's promising it, but where
let us know.
It's law and it's power, and he or she who makes the laws hold the power. So that's why we have to go vote. I just looked down. I got Trayvon Martin tattooed. Don't know him. Changed my life. His story. But reality is,
show the kid. Go ahead.
I'll show y'all in a second. But if legislation wasn't passed that stand your ground couldn't be a law, that young black man would be alive today. Breonna Taylor would be alive today if legislation didn't pass for no-knock warrants. So our lives are literally on the ballot. So like we're voting. Because if not, we'll die. Like we are an endangered species as black folks. And so the only way that we can weaponize ourselves right now without getting pistols and becoming militant like Malcolm X is to show up to the polls, is to organize and do the grassroots work. And I think that's why you start to see all these activations and campaigns and getting people to vote and people being more active. George Floyd isn't the first black man that's been gunned down by a police officer. This has been happening, but people tired. And guess what's happening? Black people are running for office. Black women, by and large, are running for office right now. And research shows when black women run for office, they win.
Well, black women do anything.
We lead for everybody. We lead for everybody. It's not
we
just
are Mother
us.
Earth. Come on.
Get your vitamin D right here with me and get excited about